Okay, welcome back to our sessions. I hope you had a tea break. I'm sorry it is not adequate, but since we are running out of time, we have to just keep on time. So we'll start our next session. But before that, I need to give another announcement. There will be a competition running now. For people who have joined online, there will be a message on your chat box, or the link will appear on your screen. You have to click on that, and there will be 3 questions that you need to answer. Type the answers. The competition will last for 30 minutes. After that, we are going to select 2 winners, depending on a draw. So please take part in the competition also. So our next topic is, which is a very important one, heart disease in children, an overview. This will be done by Dr. Sithija Vijayasinghe. She's a well-known consultant pediatric cardiologist in the country. Floor is yours, Sithija. Over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Sandamali. Good morning. First of all, let me to thank Sri Lanka College of Cardiology for giving me this nice opportunity to talk on heart disease in children as an overview. Today I'm going to discuss what is different from adults and why it is important to know. Then the etiology, clinical presentation, spectrum, treatment and the complications of congenital heart disease, and the acquired heart disease in children in brief. So, is it different from adults? Yes. In children, congenital heart disease is much more common than acquired heart disease. And also, the clinical presentation is very much different from adults. In adults, the ischemic heart disease, angina, chest pains are the common presentations. But in children, respiratory distress, heart failure, shock cyanosis and desaturation will be the common problems. Definition of heart disease in children. Actually, there is no hard and fast rule. What is meant by congenital heart disease is, it is a defect or a disease which is present at birth. Acquired heart disease means the baby will born with a perfectly normal heart, but after birth, heart will be diseased by some sort of a infection or a other cause causing a trouble. Then, how common is the heart disease among children? And how common it is in our country? When it comes to the global data, it is variable worldwide. As we all know, congenital heart disease is a multifactorial disease where it is caused by your genetic makeup as well as by environmental factors. So, the disease burden is different according to the regions of the world. In Sri Lanka, according to the calculations, we can see, according to the births, we have about 6 to 8 babies. Babala 6ක් 8ක් අතර ප්‍රමාණයක්. Deliveries 1000කට. උපත් 1000කට බබාලා 6ක් 8ක් අතර ප්‍රමාණයක් සංජානනීය ආබාධවලට හෘදේ ලක් වෙනවා. එතකොට පහුගිය අවුරුදු කීපේ අපේ සංඛ්‍යා දත්ත ආරම්භ බැලුවාම අවුරුද්දකට අපිට සංචානනීය ආබාධ හෘද ආබාධ තියෙන ළමයි 2500ත් 3000ත් අතර බිහි වෙනවා. So why is it important to know about congenital heart disease? Congenital heart disease or the congenital problems of the heart is the commonest among congenital malformations at birth. It is about 25% of all. And early identification and timely intervention is very much critical for the overall prognosis. And on top of this, more and more of the diagnosed children are in the community, so they might come with questions to you. කියන්න උත්සාහ කළේ අපි ළමයින්ගේ සංචානනීය ආබාධ ගැන දැනගන්න එක ගොඩක් වැදගත්. මොකද 25%ක්ම උපතේදී එන ආබාධ හෘදේ වස්තුවේ ආබාධ. කියන්නේ හුඟක් තියෙනවා. අනිත් එක මේක වෙලාවට අඳුනගත්තොත් විතරයි අපිට හොඳට ට්‍රීට් කරන්න පුළුවන්. ඒකම දැන් සමාජයේ ගොඩක් ළමයි ඉන්නවා සංජානනීය හෘදයාබාධ තියෙන. ඒක නිසා හෙල්ත් කෙයාර් වර්කර්ස්ලා විදියට අපිට ඩේ ටු ඩේ ප්‍රැක්ටිස් එකේදී ගොඩක් ප්‍රශ්න එනවා. So then what causes heart disease in children? මොනවද හෘදේ සංජානනීය ආබාධ වලට හේතු වෙන කාරණා? Etiology is largely unknown, but there are few well-established associations like maternal factors, maternal diabetes, maternal age, alcohol, drugs, radio and chemotherapy, and maternal infections like rubella and CMV. We all know these things, just to refresh your knowledge. And the genetics are very much important. There are chromosomal abnormalities which are well known to associated with congenital heart disease like trisomy 21 and DiGeorge syndrome, and there are single gene mutations like Turner's and Marfan's. So we should actively look into the diagnosis of congenital heart disease in syndromic children. කින්ද අපි කොහෙදි හරි මුහුණේ හරි ළමයාගේ පෙනුමේ හරි වෙනසක් තියෙනවා නම් සින්ඩ්‍රෝමික් බබෙක් කියලා හිතෙනවා නම් මේ බබාලව යොමු වෙන්න ඕන අනිවාර්යයෙන්ම heart disease එකක් තියෙනවද කියලා බලන්න. murmurs තිබුණත් නැතත්, desaturation එකක් තිබුණත් නැතත් ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ syndrome එක per se is an indication to evaluate them for the presence of congenital heart disease. Then the acquired heart disease, actually the commonest one is the rheumatic fever, which is caused by untreated or partially treated group B streptococcal infection. In this part of the world, it is very common and it is caused by a immunological reaction. Other important disease is the Kawasaki's disease, where we haven't established the etiological associations yet. Those two will be the commonest things that we have to know with regards to the acquired heart disease. Then, before moving to the structural abnormalities, I would just like to go through the normal heart, the function and the structure in brief. You all can see in the first picture, go with the color code, the blue lines, all of the oxygenless blood from the body will come to the right side of the heart through the tricuspid valve initially. Then it will go to the lungs through the pulmonary valve and the pulmonary arteries to get the oxygen there. Then it will be back to the left side of the heart through the mitral valve from the lungs through the pulmonary veins. Then it will pump throughout the body through the aorta through the aortic valve. In this picture, what I haven't described is the pressure gradients. In the right side, it's a low pressure system. පෙනහළු වලට ලේ පොම්ප කරන්නේ අඩු පීඩනයක් යටතේ. පෙනහළු බැලුම් වගේ. එතකොට ලොකු පීඩනයකින් පොම්ප කරොත් පුපුරනවා. And we need high pressure here in the left side to pump throughout the body. So your LV pressure or the heart එකේ දකුණු පැත්තේ පහළ කාමරයේ ප්‍රෙෂර් එක තමයි අපේ ඇඟේම ප්‍රෙෂර් එක විදිහට තියෙන්නේ. This is enough for the knowledge of structure and the function of the normal heart. So the classification of the congenital heart disease. Actually, we have whole lot of diagnoses, various nomenclatures for the congenital heart disease, but I would like to go through a simplified version for the classification. Basically, we have two groups. One is the acyanotic and the cyanotic. This is what we all know about. Then this acyanotic group will be divided into two according to the pulmonary blood flow, and there are some other lesions with obstruction to the blood flow from the ventricles. There's another group in the cyanotic one with reduced pulmonary blood flow, and some people take this as increased blood flow or mixed blood flow. Individual lesions I will not discuss because next few slides will be on this part. And this is another classification. Again, we have divided them into congenital and acquired. first, then acyanotic and cyanotic for the congenital heart lesions. Here, the shunt lesions with increased pulmonary blood flow, obstructive lesions, and others. But this is a bit of a complex one, so I'll skip this classification for time being. So we'll move on to the discussion of clinical presentation. This is very important to identify the patients who are having congenital heart disease early. We have two main clinical presentations. Some children will present with the natural history of the disease. That means disease itself or with a complication of the disease. For example, a child with VSD will present with features of pulmonary hypertension or else with features of heart failure. What is meant by the clinical presentation with altered history? Actually, it is the group of children who had congenital heart disease and treated, but again presenting with residual lesions or else the lesions which are caused by the treatment itself. If I take the VSD to explain, a child who underwent VSD closure can present again with significant residual VSD or else LVOT obstruction which is caused by the surgical procedure. But this group of presentation is actually depend on the technical skills of the surgeon who did the surgery. But we should remember that there is a clinical presentation like this. Then, according to the age, the clinical presentation is variable. If I discuss about the neonate first, most of the neonates at birth are asymptomatic. The onset of the disease will indicate the lesion, type of the lesion, and usually it is with the completion of the perinatal circulatory changes. As example, a child with a duct-dependent pulmonary circulation will present with cyanosis once the patent ductus arteriosus is closed. Or a child with a left to right shunt, like an VSD, might go home without any problem unless you detect the murmur. He will go home from the postnatal ward with his mother, but present around 4 weeks of age with features of heart failure. So, the clinical presentation is a variable one. Here is a child who is showing you the features of heart failure. I think that you all can appreciate the degree of respiratory distress with intercostal and subcostal recessions, and is an irritable child, basically circulatory insufficiency and hypoxia. And this is a child who is with established cyanosis. There will be cyanosis in the feet and the palms, but this is not very reliable because you will get it with the acrocyanosis with temperature changes even. It might not be due to the heart disease itself, but most important thing is the cyanosis in the central or the mucocutaneous layers where it is visible on the lips of the child. So as I said, most important things are the respiratory distress, dyspnea, grunting, tachypnea, cyanosis, desaturation. In addition to that, low birth weight is another important fact. Then the clinical presentation of an infant. They usually present with symptoms of heart failure. So what are the symptoms of heart failure is profuse scalp sweating and respiratory distress while feeding. So difficult feeding will be the most prominent presenting feature in infants. So the maternal concerns are very important. So what I told you in summary is පුංචිම ලදරුවන් සහ අවුරුද්දක් විතර වෙනකම් බබාලා basically heart disease එකක් තියෙනවා නම් එන්නේ කිරියුරා බීමේ අපහසුතා සහ හුස්ම ගැනීමේ අපහසුතා එක්ක. ඊට අමතරව බබා නිල් වෙන්න පුළුවන් සහ ඔක්සිජන් මට්ටම අඩු වෙලා ඩිටෙක්ට් කරන්න පුළුවන්. මේ ඒ ටික අම්මලා ගොඩක් වෙලාවට ඩිටෙක්ට් කරනවා. ඒ හින්දා අම්මගේ කන්සර්න්ස් අපි බලන්න ඕනේ. Then I'll move on to the clinical presentation of adolescent. It's a non-specific chest pain, murmurs, high blood pressure, syncope are the main features, but they will present with late diagnosis of complications, respiratory distress and endocarditis as well. Then I'll move on to the individual lesions. Actually, I just wanted you all to have a rough idea. The first group of diseases will be acyanotic congenital heart disease with increased pulmonary blood flow or shunt lesions. The simplest one is the ASD. පින්තූරෙත් එක්ක follow up කරා නම් ලේසි. හෘදය වාස්තුවේ උඩ කාමර දෙක අතර බිත්තියේ සිදුර තමයි ASD එක. There are 4 types depending on the location of the hole. Then the PFO. This is actually not a structural lesion. This is a normal communication in the fetal life. This does not need any sort of a intervention. Then the ventricular septal defect, which is the hole between the lower 2 chambers. There are 4 types, as we all know: perimembranous, muscular, conoventricular and subpulmonic. The important one is the patent ductus arteriosus. You can appreciate the communication between the pulmonary arteries and the aorta here. This is very important in the fetal life, but this should physiologically close within 24 hours of birth due to exposure of high oxygen tension. So any of the conditions which causes hypoxia may delay this process and will lead to patent ductus arteriosus after birth. So babies who had respiratory distress and prematurity are more liable to get this entity. And the PDA is very important in group of complex cyanotic heart diseases to keep the circulation at the early part of the life. This is atrioventricular septal defect. You can appreciate the inlet VSD and the primum ASD together with a single atrioventricular valve. Uncommon shunt lesions are the aortopulmonary window and the AV fistula. Whatever it is, all the shunt lesions will cause more pulmonary blood flow. So it will damage your lung vessels in long term, and it causes to form firm vessels. The vessel elasticity will go off and you will have firm vessels due to this high blood flow, and you will be ended up with pulmonary hypertension. මම මුලදී කිව්වා වගේ heart එකේ දකුණු පැත්තේ pressure එක අඩුයි. නමුත් shunt lesions නිසා heart එකේ දකුණු පැත්තේ pressure එක වැඩි වුණාම right heart failure එකක් precipitate වෙනවා. In addition to that, මේ blood flow එක වැඩි නිසා lungs are wet. It has more fluid rather than air. So it is more vulnerable to get infections. So that kids with shunt lesions will get pulmonary infections frequently. On the other hand, as there is a shunt, you will have less blood in the systemic circulation, so your left heart has more workload and you will get heart failure as well. Then the acyanotic heart diseases with obstructive lesions. මේ disease group එකේ තියෙන්නේ ventricles වල outflow එක block වෙන එක. Here I'm showing you the aortic stenosis. The valve can be normal or abnormal, but the orifice is restricted. This is pulmonary stenosis. The same thing happens in the right outflow tract. And this is coarctation of aorta. Your aortic flow is restricted. Whatever the obstructive lesion, you will get reduced cardiac output and tissue hypoxia with lactic acidosis. So these kids will present with acidotic breathing and features of shock once they have compromised. Then the cyanotic lesions. This is very, very complex group of congenital heart disease. The commonest well-known one is the tetralogy of Fallot. We have 4 lesions together: a VSD, a overriding aorta, hypertrophied RV together with RVOT obstruction. The most important factor here is the degree of your RVOT obstruction. With higher degree of obstruction, you will have more blood going onto your, more deoxygenated blood going into your systemic circulation, causing more and more desaturation. So the pathophysiology here is depend on the RVOT obstruction. Our target saturation is actually 75%. We are much worried when the cyanotic child have a saturation of 75 and 80, but you don't have to worry, this is much more adequate. But if it is less than that, these kids need some sort of a augmentation of their pulmonary circulation. Then the most complex group of the cyanotic diseases are the univentricular hearts. This is rare actually. We all know that we have two chambers at the lower part of the heart. In univentricular hearts, one of these chambers will be smaller and underdeveloped. So, three well-recognized entities are the hypoplastic left heart syndrome, pulmonary atresia, and tricuspid atresia. I will just go through these three lesions. Here we can appreciate that the tricuspid valve is not formed. So obviously, the blood which is come from the heart, from the body to the heart, need a ASD and a VSD to go to the pulmonary circulation. So these kids are very ill at birth. They will be so cyanosed and they need help at birth. Pulmonary atresia, again the same entity, right side is blocked. This is hypoplastic left heart. Actually in Sri Lanka, this is the only condition still we have no definitive treatment or any sort of a palliation for this group of children, where your left heart is very, very underdeveloped. The mitral valve, LV, aorta and the aortic valve all together. So these kids will maintain their systemic circulation at early part through this fetal connection of PDA. The well-known other entity is the transposition of great arteries. This is a one entity with high pulmonary blood flow and cyanosis. Your main two vessels, the aorta will come from the right heart and it will take your deoxygenated blood again to the body, and your pulmonary arteries arise from your left heart. Oxygenated blood will again go to the lungs through this circuit. So as far as you don't have a VSD here, you have no way of mixing them. So these kids need a ASD and a PDA to maintain their circulation. The next lesion is the total anomalous pulmonary venous drainage. You can see that all of the pulmonary veins usually drains into the LA here, but here through a common chamber they will go to the right side of the heart. All the oxygenated blood will divert again to the right side and will go to the pulmonary circulation. There are three common types, and depending on the obstruction at the entry point to the right heart, these babies will be very ill at birth. This is actually a complex scenario, but still in our country we can treat these babies successfully. Other well-known entities, the truncus arteriosus, I will not go into the detail because of time constraints, and the double outlet right ventricle. This is very interesting. Actually, this is not a single diagnosis. This is a spectrum from TOF to TGA. So, it is actually, the aorta is partially directed towards your RV. Depending on the diversion, if it is 50%, it is TOF. If it is 100%, it is TGA. When it is 80%, we call it as double outlet right ventricle. So, this is a variable presentation and the corrective surgery is again variable. All of the complex cyanotic heart diseases will have reduced or the increased pulmonary blood flow, that is individually dependent. So, the management of congenital heart disease, we have two options. We can go through the curative pathway or the palliation. Both of the pathways can be catheter based, doing by the cardiologist in the cath lab, or else surgical, doing by the surgeon in the theatre. Most of the shunt lesions are correctable. We can achieve a normal heart by doing the surgery. But most of the cyanotic lesions, we can only do the palliative procedures with PA band, BT shunt, BDG, Fontan completion, whole lot of names. But still, we just treat the symptoms of the child. We will never achieve a normal heart. We are just short-circuiting their blood to alleviate the symptoms. So, goal of the management of heart disease, congenital heart disease in children is almost always we should aim for biventricular repair. If not possible only, we should go for the univentricular type of a repair. This is a very complex process which involves many modes of assessment, including chest X-ray, ECG, echocardiogram, cardiac catheterization, CT, and MRI. It can be so it is actually individually decided. So, I just wanted to go through the slides of palliative surgery in congenital heart disease. Whatever the lesion where you have high pulmonary blood flow, until you bring down the corrective surgery, you have to put them on a PA band. That is to restrict your pulmonary blood flow and to protect your pulmonary circulation from developing pulmonary hypertension. And whatever the lesion where you have reduced pulmonary blood flow, you need some sort of a support to maintain pulmonary circulation. So, this is BT shunt, that is to maintain your pulmonary circulation. This is what you call univentricular type of a repair. You all can appreciate that we are taking the pulmonary circulation out of the heart. First step, we are anastomosing the SVC to the pulmonary arteries, and the second step, we are anastomosing the IVC to pulmonary arteries. So we are keeping the whatever the existing ventricle to pump through the systemic circulation, and the pulmonary circulation will be taken out of the heart. So with the interest of time, I will just skip these slides. The oxygen we should use with care for congenital heart disease children. And the complications, the most important things are the heart failure, infective endocarditis, and we should always consider the growth and the developmental failure and the psychological impact on these kids. Then very few slides on acquired heart disease, commonest being rheumatic carditis, where the diagnosis is based on the clinical criteria and echocardiogram. Penicillin prophylaxis is the crucial thing. Kawasaki disease is again a vasculitis of the children. This is the sole cause of myocardial infarction in children. The treatment is the IVIG. Again, the diagnosis is mainly clinical. Cardiomyopathies are a group of diseases which is the end result of wide range of diseases which affect cardiac muscle, commonest being viral infections, but there are inherited forms. So family screening is very, very important for the kids with cardiomyopathies. The unfortunate thing is we don't have a specific treatment for these kids other than cardiac transplant. Arrhythmias are very, very rare. That is caused by abnormal cardiac conduction. These kids will present with syncope, palpitations, and excessive sweating. They need specific diagnosis. So, in summary, among children, congenital heart disease is the common, not the ischemic heart disease like in adults. And is a multifactorial disease, so has variable prevalence across the world. Some of the maternal factors and the genetic factors are important and recognized etiology of congenital heart disease. The clinical presentation is dependent on the age and the characteristics of the lesion, and we should remember that there is an altered history group of clinical presentation. Most of the acyanotic lesions are correctable, but the management options for cyanotic lesions are individually decided. It is palliative procedures with univentricular type of repair. Acquired heart disease is not common among children, and rheumatic heart disease and Kawasaki's disease is more important. Thank you.
Thank you, Sitija. Thank you very much for your excellent lecture. And I would like to invite you to the panel here. And the panel is open for the questions. Until we are getting the questions from our online audience, I would like to ask one question from you. And when it comes to the neonates with congenital heart disease, what are the indication for us to refer this patient to a center with a pediatric cardiologist urgently?
Thank you for the question. Basically, when it comes to the neonates, now we have a screening program running in now almost all the postnatal wards. We used to measure the discharge saturations. So, whatever the child who is having low saturation should have to have the cardiology evaluation before discharge. Other than that, the kids who are asymptomatic at birth will be detected by this mode. But for the kids who are very ill and cyanotic, or the kids who show the symptoms and signs of the cardiac disease like respiratory distress, which is characterized by difficult breathing, higher respiratory rate, or the grunting, should have to have their evaluation before they discharge. And any features suggestive of circulatory compromise like low capillary refill time, irritable child, feeding difficulties, we should identify and refer for cardiological evaluation urgently, because most of these feeding difficulties and the respiratory distress will be missed, because the children with heart disease are described actually as happy dyspneic child. They will have normal level of activity. So the recognition needs higher degree of suspicion to identify the dyspnea among the children with congenital heart disease as far as they have the normal level of activity.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sitija. There's one question from one of our online viewers. Can I direct that question to you? She asks, can you discuss the researchable areas with regards to congenital heart disease which needs to be carried out? You can mention one or two, I guess.
Yes, in Sri Lanka, we don't have still actually our own statistics for anything. We don't know the prevalence of how
Yes,
common the congenital heart disease in our country at least. And in addition to that, we are carrying out almost all the palliative and the corrective surgeries for our congenital heart disease patients except hypoplastic left heart syndrome. So the TGA people who underwent the corrective surgery, who are having very low saturations before surgery, we can look for the neurodevelopmental parameters after the surgery, and we can look for the degree of residual lesions. We can look for the post-treatment morbidity and mortality data, infection rates, residual lesions. So there are a lot of areas to research in the country.
Yes. Can I ask one last question, Sitija? Sorry. What are the conditions that contraindicates routine vaccination in a child? Because we get referrals a lot of most of the time.
Cardiac disease is not a absolute contraindication for vaccination. The only constraint with the vaccination for cardiac disease children is once we vaccinate these children in the field, if they develop some sort of a cardiac compromise due to allergic reactions,
right,
the resuscitation will be difficult. That is the sole reason that we need to refer them to a hospital or a place where the resuscitation facilities are well available.
Okay.
Otherwise, cardiac disease is not an absolute contraindication for EPI vaccines.
Okay. Thank you so much. We really appreciate your contribution to our sessions. Thank you, Sitija.
Thank you.